What's good, everybody out there? If you're new to the channel, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Let's talk about it, alright? This episode is brought to you by Cocoa Breeze Body Butter. Available in lemongrass, jasmine, tropical vibes, lavender, and king scent. Made with all natural ingredients. It's made homemade by my wife. Available on Facebook Marketplace. Website coming soon. Get some if you haven't got it. It's really, really good. I mean, really, really good. I mean, really, really good. I mean, in fact, it's so good.
If you threw it up in the air, it would turn into sunshine.
I was going back and forth on this protester, on the white protesters. I was going to do a whole video on the white protesters, right? And I kind of got mixed feelings about that, to be honest with you. I got mixed feelings about that. On one hand, I recognize the white privilege, because if that was black folks, then that wouldn't happen. If it did get coverage, it'd get coverage from people getting their head beat in. So that wouldn't happen. If these people protesting right now were black folks, that wouldn't happen. Okay? So I recognize the white privilege, but I don't say that emotionally. It just is what it is, right? And sometimes, and really honestly, you know, if you're smart, if you're non-white and you're smart, you would pay attention to what white people are doing. Because the thing about that is, you know, let's just be honest. I mean, white people built this country, and they've passed the blueprint on for generation, generation, generation. It may not be the actual blueprint written on an actual piece of paper, but the sentiment of what this country should be about, and you know what I'm saying, the freedoms that we should have and how things should go. This is something that, you know what I'm saying? So right or wrong, good or bad, I pay attention to everything. That's just me. So on one end, I recognize the white privilege of the protesters. You know, what they're protesting about is you know, it's like they just want their freedom. You know what I mean? They just want their freedom. That's just, you know, freedom to, you know, and it's all, honestly, when I listen to them, a lot of it's real trivial stuff. Like, you know, I want to go get a haircut. I want to go, you know, just live my life. You know what I mean? If that means risking my life, then so be it. And I understand that, because honestly, you know, that's everyday life anyway. That's everyday life anyway, anywhere. Whether coronavirus exists or not. There are things that can end your life. There are things that people die from every year by the thousands, like massive numbers of the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that is. So I understand that. Taking emotion away, and that's the problem. Most people can't look at things and take the emotion out of it, right? As soon as they look at something, it automatically triggers how they feel. And then they just go off of that. How I feel. I'm upset because this and that. And that's just the trajectory. It just goes off of that. And that's just not a smart way to operate. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? So looking at it, right? Recognize the white privilege. You know, I can't say what they're protesting is trivial, because if that's important to you, then who am I to say it shouldn't be? If you going out and just living your daily routine, you know what I'm saying, is enough for you to risk your life, you know what I'm saying, then who am I to say that's trivial? Because what that is freedom. And the most people that I see, you know, protesting it, mostly protesting them, is mostly black folks, right? It's mostly black folks, a lot of black folks, mostly black folks, a lot of white folks too, but mostly black folks protesting that. And it's interesting to me because I always fall back on what Malcolm said about freedom and the cost of freedom.
And anytime you beg another man to set you free, you will never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourselves. And until the American Negro lets the white man know that we are really, really ready and willing to pay the price that is necessary for freedom, our people will always be walking around here second-class citizens, or what you call 20th century slaves.
What price are you talking about, sir?
The price of freedom is death.
And, you know, we're kind of the living embodiment of those words right now, today, because anything that goes on in the black community, we're never willing to pay the price for freedom. We say we want it, but we're never really willing to pay it. We're not even willing a lot of times to be uncomfortable for it. You know what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother rabbit hole that I don't want to go down right now. But you know, I've listened to one of the ladies, and she said, you know, she just wants to be. She just wants to be free to do what she, you know, feel like she needs to do, whatever that is. And you know, if that means that, hey, I'm risking my life, then so be it. Okay. Now, right or wrong, I'm not giving you my thoughts on how I feel about it. Okay? I'll get to that later. It is just what it is. But another thing that she said that struck me was, like, she said, yeah, you know, I think the coronavirus is out there. I think it's serious. But I also think God is there. So if God, you know, if God is to keep me safe, then I'll be safe. If God is to strike me with it, then I'll get struck with it. Whatever it is God. Whatever happens, it's God doing it. So it doesn't matter what I do. If that's what it is, and that's what it is. Right? But that's coming from a person who has an understanding of their connection with the Most High. You know? And I found, what I see is a lot of people, now that things are changing drastically, because that's really what's going on. Things are changing drastically. There are drastic changes in the structure of society. And people are freaking out. Even the ones who think they're looking at people are freaking out. They're freaking out too. People are freaking out. All right? So, going back to the protesters, mixed feelings about them. Recognize the white privilege, as I said before. Whatever they're protesting about, large or small, who am I to judge? And the reactions from people. And I know a lot of people are going to listen to what I'm saying so far and be like, well, you're leaving out how it affects other people. Basically, you going out there protesting, mixing, mingling, you could get the virus and then you can infect me. So, you know, people get upset about that part of it. Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, people literally, like, are upset. Like, yo, like, this is another mechanism for divide, and people don't even see it. We've been jumping from one divisive mechanism to another. LGBT, transgender kids, coronavirus, if it's a virus or if it's something else. One divisive mechanism to another, and we just fall right into it, feed right into it. People policing other people. But the reactions to it, and the reactions to it are usually, you know, something like, well, if you go out, you get infected, you'll infect me. So now people take it personally that people want to be out and about, moving around, because they feel like it's a personal affront onto them. So I've seen people, you know, say stuff like, you know, somebody had a sign that says, you know, my life, my choice, or something like that. And somebody said that should be the sentiment if you go to the hospital. They should tell you, no, we refuse your care. Like, what kind of, like, right or wrong, whatever a person feel or don't feel, like, how is it okay to wish that on someone else? Just because of how you feel at the end of the day. As far as the protesters, I feel like, look, You got the right to fight for what you feel like is important. And I think it's really hypocritical for us as black folks to be criticizing them, because what's going to happen because when that shoe's on the other foot and we're now fighting for what we feel like is important, you know, we're going to have problems with people saying, you know, I'm not making this a white or black thing. I'm just saying most of the protesters are white. That's what I'm seeing. But, you know, us in the black community, when we protest about things that are important to us, whatever that may be, like, we don't want people to be saying what we're protesting about is not important, and they do. And we don't like it. You know, so why would you then fall back on, you know, like, why would you practice hypocrisy? That's what I try to be careful about doing. I'm not going to practice hypocrisy. I'm not going to write or whatever it is. Like, if I got a problem with this, I got a problem with it here, and I got a problem with it here. You know? And, you know, this thing is what the narrative, because the bottom line is, you know, the bottom line is that there's so much information. Like, if this whole thing was going to trial, and, you know, what the trial was is proving that there is an actual virus named COVID-19, and it's out there, and it's on substances, and you could pass it this way. Everything that's been said, I don't want to spend too much time going into what everybody already believes. I'm not going to say no. This would get thrown out of court. You know why? Because there is enough evidence to the contrary to instill at least a reasonable doubt. And that's putting it very generously. Because if you really study and you really read between the lines, read the lines and in between the lines, you listen to people who are allowed to speak, and then you listen to people who are not allowed to speak, and listen to what all of them have to say. There is at very least enough evidence to the contrary of the popular narrative to instill a reasonable doubt. And then you add in the fact that a lot of the testimony and a lot of the information come from sources that are wasn't attained properly, sources that are not credible. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's footage of people, media filming people rushing mannequins in on gurneys to stir the fear pot. Stirring the fear pot, cooking the books. These are all things that exist. If this was a case, this could be say this was a case against a drug dealer or something like that. If the information and the evidence presented in that case was as faulty and had as much counter information as this narrative does, that dude would walk. And everybody can know, for real, we know he did it. We know in our hearts we did it, but we can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And what people are saying this is, no one can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's just a fact. I'm not going to go into what it is and what it ain't. That's a whole nother video. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got, man. But, you know, just something to think about. Something to pass around, something to talk about. All right? So, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Let's talk about it. All right? Peace.